This is a Squiz podcast. We're your shortcut to being informed.
Squiz Kids! It's your daily news fix. Fun, free, fresh.
Good morning and welcome to Squiz Kids Today, your fresh take on what's happening in the world around you. I'm Bryce Corbett. It's Wednesday, October 27. In Squiz Kids Today, Net Zero explained. China outlaws homework. Squiz-E the newshound strikes again, and the best cupcake recipe ever. That's what's making news, kid style.
The lowdown.
There was a little bit of history made in Canberra yesterday with the announcement by our Prime Minister that he would be heading to this weekend's big global climate summit in Glasgow, planning to tell his fellow world leaders that Australia is committed to something called net zero by the year 2050. So what in the wide world of climate change does that even mean? Net zero means that we will remove from the atmosphere the same amount of greenhouse gases as we are putting into it. Think of it as a set of scales. If Australia and countries like America and China and so many others can take out of the Earth's atmosphere the same amount of carbon dioxide as we are putting into it, by driving electric cars or saving trees or using more solar power, for example, then we might be able to stop the world from warming up to levels nobody wants to see. Why is this historic? Because for almost 15 years now, the two sides of Australian politics have had very different ideas about how to handle climate change. But now they agree with one another. And that can hopefully only be a good thing for our country and for our planet. Next stop, Glasgow.
Spin the globe.
Each day we give the world globe a spin and find a news story from wherever it stops. And today we've landed in China, where homework has been outlawed. Yeehaw! What does outlawed mean? It means a law has been passed banning it. And okay, the Chinese government hasn't banned homework altogether, but it has passed a law saying that teachers cannot hand out too much homework. Now, before you go getting any ideas, the amount of homework done by the average school student in China is much, much more than the average school student in Australia. So this is just an attempt by the Chinese government to dial things back a bit. The government there is also passing laws to restrict the hours that kids spend on the internet and online gaming, which, while popular with parents, I have a feeling probably doesn't go down so well with the kids. It's Media Literacy Week all over Australia this week, so we've got Squiz-E the newshound working overtime to sniff out fishy stories on the internet. Speaking of homework, Squiz-E has found a video doing the rounds of social media that claims homework spelled backwards is the Latin word for child abuse. It's had hundreds of thousands of views and shares on social media. But is there any proof to back up this claim? We set Squiz-E to work, and he googled Crowemo, which is homework spelled backwards, and the first result he got was to something called the Urban Dictionary, which contains the child abuse claim. But Squiz-E knows to practice what media literacy experts call click restraint, which means don't just click on the first result you come across, keep scrolling down, see what else you can find. Because in that same Google search are lots of reputable sites. Reputable means well-known and with a good reputation, and they explain that this post was started as a joke but was then shared by people who thought it was true. As Squiz-E says each week, a good newshound knows to stop, think and check. Who's giving us the information and what have they got to gain by telling it to us? Thanks, Squiz-E.
Rosie's recipes.
Hello, old friend. New listeners to Squiz Kids may not be familiar with this segment, as it's been a long time since we've featured it, but this is an old favourite, where we ask you, the listener, to send in a favourite recipe. And instead of getting Rosie to make it, we're inviting you, the listener, to make your recipe at home Take a photo of the finished product and send in the recipe and your photos, which will feature on the Squiz Kids website. And kicking off the new format Rosie's recipes is Sierra from Erskineville in Sydney, who sent in her scrum-diddly-umptious cupcake recipe. The secret ingredient, according to Sierra, is cacao, which is the bean that's used to make chocolate, the most magical bean in the world. I've stuck a link to Sierra's cupcakes and a lovely photo of Sierra in today's episode notes. Or you can find it all at squizkids.com.au under the More Fun Stuff tab.
Squiz Kids for Schools.
Teachers, don't forget to celebrate World Teachers' Day this coming Friday. We're offering a year's subscription to our new product, Squiz Kids for Schools, to a lucky school whose teacher signs up to our free trial before the end of the week. Depending on the size of your school, that's a prize value of up to $3,000. Squiz Kids for Schools gives you and your classroom access to a set of classroom resources of varying skill level, put together each day by our in-house teacher Amanda, and tied to the daily podcast. It's a great way to extend your kids, extend the usefulness of our free daily podcast, and deepen your classroom's curiosity in the world around them. Sign up for the free trial at squizkids.com.au, and don't forget, if you want to enter the comp, you've only got 3 days to go.
Time for the quiz.
This is the part of the podcast where you get to test how well you've been listening. Question number 1. What's the expression in climate change speak for removing as much carbon dioxide from the atmosphere as you put into it? That's right, it's net zero. Question number 2. Which country has passed a law against too much homework? Yeah, it's China. Question number 3. Sierra's cupcake's secret ingredient is the extract of a bean that's used to make chocolate. What is that bean called? You got it, it's cacao.
Shout outs.
It's October 27. It's our 401st episode of Squiz Kids today. I meant to note the 400th episode yesterday, but 401 has a ring to it too, don't you think? It's also a special day for these Squiz Kids celebrating a birthday today. Ethan from Listerfield, Teddy from Manly, Gabriella from Rochdale, Tiger from Newcastle East, Kylan and David from Bathurst, and Jaden who, get this, is listening all the way over there in Mongolia, which is possibly the most exotic place we've ever had a Squiz Kid listener. Hello, Jaden. And because we're all transitioning back to the classroom, we're taking all the home learning herogram requests you've sent in and are turning them into classroom shout-outs. Classroom shout-outs today go to Year 6 at St Thomas More Catholic Primary School in Roos, and a very happy birthday to their principal, Mr Barrington. Also, shout-outs to Miss Vale's Grade 1-2 Kookaburra class at Mount Evelyn Christian School, to Year 3 and Mrs Pass from North Ainslie Primary School, to Year 5-6 and Miss Nielsen at Leeton Public School, and to all of Year 5 at MacArthur Anglican School in Greater Sydney. Classroom shout-outs also to Class MG6 and Mr Dean at All Saints College St Peter's campus in Maitland. Mr Dean is apparently also known as Mr Bean for his enthusiasm and really funny dance moves. Can't wait to see those. Shout-outs also to Class 5W and Mr Watts at Pennant Hills Public School, and to all of Year 5 and Miss Walker at St Helens Park Public School. Don't forget, if you've got a birthday coming up and you want a shout-out, or if you're after a classroom shout-out, drop us a line at squizkids@thesquiz.com.au. Well, that's all we have time for. Thanks for listening to Squiz Kids today. We'll be back again tomorrow. In the meantime, get out there and have a most excellent day. Over and out.